All right, y'all. What's up? What's up, everybody that's watching? What's up, Facebook? What's up, Instagram? What's up, YouTube? This your boy Jay. And this is Millennials Talk. So yes, come on in, come on in. I'm excited for what's going on in this season. This is season 2, y'all. If y'all didn't know, you haven't been watching. This is season 2. So yes, come on in, bring somebody, tell somebody. Please follow, like, and share this video. This is going to be a great episode. I'm excited to talk about social injustice. We're talking about racism and what's going on and how does it affect African Americans, Black Americans today. So I got different generations on this episode to talk about their experience, and we're just going to talk about it. We're just going to have a candid conversation, you guys. So yes, we're talking about racism. I already know y'all probably like, oh Lord, but it needs to be talked about. So, all right. So come on, y'all, come on in, tell everybody to come in. Thank you all for supporting Millennials Talk. Thank you all for just going out your way, sharing and liking our page, our videos. It's just, you guys are amazing. Amazing. All right. So, all right, give me 1 second, y'all. Hold on, y'all. All right, I'm back. Sorry. All right, so I got a couple of people to come on and talk about this heavy subject. I got some good people at first. See, let me go and tell you what my initial plan was. I have some some Caucasian friends, and they were going to come on with me, and we were going to hear their side, but they backed out. And and I love them. No, I am not mad at all, but I understand where it was coming from. They were just nervous to talk about this situation, especially with the George Floyd verdict and everything about that was going on 2 weeks ago. So they didn't want to come on and say the wrong thing and now me, I'm like, come on, come on, you're not going to say the wrong thing. So, but they didn't want to do it. But shout out to my friends. Still love y'all. Wish y'all still will be a part. But I understand. So I was like going to God, and I was like, all right. So I had to change my whole casting for this. And I was like, who to ask? And names just stopped dropping in my mind. And they work in this area, or they do this. So I got an activist. I got somebody who works for the news who been in the thick of it. I got a Birmingham police officer. So yeah, we just got different people, different aspects to come on and talk about this. So all right, so I'm gonna shut up. I can hear somebody saying, Jay, you're talking too much. I can hear somebody saying that. But all right, we're going to move on, and we're going to introduce everybody. I got my good friend Derek. How you doing, Derek?
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
Good. Thank you for being a part of Millennials Talk.
Hey, it was a pleasure, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, guys, if you don't know Derek, he works for the Birmingham Police Department. So I can't wait to
just say police department.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And I can't wait to hear what he got to say about the questions and everything. So thank you for being a part, Derek. I got my good friend TJ. We was having issues earlier. You can hear me?
I can hear you. Don't do that.
Thank you, TJ, for being a part.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to be a part.
Yes, sir. I got Pastor. I call her the activist. She go out into the communities every time I see her, and she's doing a great job, you guys. And she's showing that Christians or saved people, or the saints, can go out and still represent Jesus, but still represent your community and your race and say, this is not fair. This is not justice. And she does a great job at it. I love it. Love to go see when she's walking out, holding signs. And she's not holding, no peace, no justice, but she's holding Jesus sign. Get saved, I love it. So she's covering all aspects. And I just love this. I got Pastor T on. How you doing?
Hey, everyone. Doing well. Thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of the show. Looking forward to the conversation with everyone.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for being a part. Thank you so much. I got my good friend Andrew. He works for the news. What's up, Andrew?
What's going on, everybody? How you doing?
Doing good. Say something one more time. You sound real echoey.
Can you hear me better now? Better now?
No, no.
I don't, not better. Still kind of bad,
Still sounding bad. Probably try to come
Hold
in
on, hold
more.
on. Let's see. There's a little bit, everything sounding good first. So, let me try something.
Oh, thank God it isn't me. Woo!
I'm hollering.
Woo!
And then I got my good friend RJ while Andrew is fixing his problems. I got RJ, my coworker.
How about now? Can you hear me better now?
Oh no, not
Still not better. What's going on?
no,
How y'all
not yet.
doing?
All right, yeah, RJ, what's up? Thanks for being a part of Millennials Talk. Me and RJ
My
have
pleasure.
these type of conversations all the time, and sometimes we don't agree, but it's good conversation.
Maybe now. I just took out my AirPods. What about now?
Great, wonderful. That sounds so much better. All right, so let's go on dive in to the questions. All right, so yes, like I said, we're talking about social injustice, you guys. Very heavy topic. So let's just go and dive in. All right, so question one. With all the social injustice that's going on in our country, how does it make you feel as a citizen of the United States? So I'm gonna go and hit TJ with that question first.
Like, well, the question is, how does it make you feel as a citizen? A, it doesn't make me feel like a citizen. Let's just start off there.
Right,
Um, I think that America has done a very fine job of alienating some people and praising other people. And so, how does it make me feel? It doesn't make me feel like a citizen. Furthermore, it makes me feel torn. While I would feel hopeful about social justice being the forefront of everything now, you hear about it, but as far as any legal actions being taken, there's still none. So I just first start off saying that I feel torn and I don't feel quite like a citizen. But maybe somebody make me feel a little bit better at the end of the show.
okay. I mean, I agree with you. It's living in America. In America is it's quite difficult as a black man when I see um, police officers killing us, and then
Sure.
they're not getting the justice or getting the rightful behavior of going to jail
Yeah.
for this. But I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful, but I keep getting slapped in the face. So I don't know. I don't know.
I
But all
understand.
right, Derek, what you think about the question? Well, with all the social injustices going on in our country, how does it make you feel, especially as a police officer living here?
Uh, I agree with brother TJ said. Sometimes it doesn't make you feel like a citizen. Because when I'm born, I'm a black man. When I wake up, walk out the house, I'm a black man. No matter what you do in your profession. So yeah, there are some injustices out there that really can't hold people of color down or people with certain skin complexions. But it's hard. I'm gonna just say that it's hard.
Pastor T, what you got to say about the question?
I definitely agree with TJ in some ways. It just makes you feel a bit isolated when you see things happening for those who would be considered a minority or marginalized, which that is a part of the definition of racism, right? Prejudice, antagonistic views toward a particular group, typically those who are minority or marginalized. And so that's definitely a part of it for me. Also, as a Black woman, there are a lot of days, even with the work that we do. And you spoke about me being an activist, and I take that to heart. That's not something for TV. That's something that I believe in doing. But to be honest, I know you wanted us to be candid. So I would say exhausted, you know, as a citizen. Most days I just kind of feel a bit exhausted. You wake up to war. And what I mean by that is you may not necessarily every day kind of deal with a protest type of situation, but in so many other ways, we deal with racist views, be it through a job or through work that you're trying to accomplish, and having to show up a certain way so that you're not looked at as some type of a threat, or so that that you don't come off intimidating. Just kind of having to quiet parts of yourself so that you can be accepted in some spaces because you walk in and you're automatically looked at a certain way. And
Right.
just having to think through, having the right answers all the time, or the right voice, the right inflections. It's down to small things like that. It can be quite exhausting. So I definitely, like I said, I agree with TJ with just sometimes not feeling like, this is where I really belong, but also just being exhausted, with the war that comes with the work.
Yes, you said something that made me think of a conversation that I had with my white friend. I was telling him that you will never know how it feels to be black because we see it every day. We see racism every day at work, at jobs. When I walk to my car and a white lady is clutching her purse, I don't want your purse. Or especially like dealing with people or with the other races, and they just put that on you automatically. You're their angry black man. You're the angry black one, and it's just like what? So it's just very exhausting. You said something like that. I love it. It's very exhausting. I just totally agree.
Yeah.
RJ, what you think about the question? With all the social injustice, do you feel like a citizen?
I mean, at times, no. I agree with what she said about the statement about when you leave out the house, it's like you going to war. You got to be prepared for anything, and got to have to adjust to any situation that come your way. For example, with me, the way that I look, I cannot say anything to anybody, and they'll be intimidated because I'm a 6'4", 300-pound black man.
Yeah.
And it can go from me speaking like "How you doing," and they offended by that because they looking at me. But what they don't see is who me as a person, what I do for a living. I work with kids. I work with adolescents, troubled adolescents. But they can't get past the fact that I'm a big black man. So it like I have to pick and choose. I have to try not to look a certain way in order to make this person feel comfortable. I have to try not to speak too loud or voice my opinion too much because it'll offend certain people. And if it offend a person to a certain degree where they want to make accusations or presumptions about me, the situation can turn from simple to complex in a heartbeat.
Yeah, he's not lying. I've seen it happen. I've seen people come in and then they'll get just the way he say something so simple, and then they'll get so bothered. I don't be like, and he was like, Jay, did I say something wrong? So you said it perfectly. I don't understand. I don't see it. I see it all the time, especially with him. I'm more I can smile I'm more a little more nice, but he can do the same thing I do, but it can be viewed differently. So I've seen it happen. So he's not lying. All right, Andrew, what you got to say? What you think about the question? Especially
Man,
working with the news.
a lot of times it makes me feel unwanted. I think as humans, sometimes we have this sense of belonging or wanting to belong in different spaces of our lives, whether that's family, our neighborhood, our school, wherever, our church community. Like we want to be able to belong and feel like the people around us care that we're there, and not even that they will make a difference or not, but just that they want us to be in that space. And it's hard because when you leave out the house, you're in a space of people obviously you don't know, and you haven't done anything in order to feel like an outcast, yet you are an outcast in their mind. And I think that it's extremely frustrating because you desire to fit in. In essence, even though sometimes you are meant to stand out. When I say fit in, I mean to be liked, to be accepted. And I think that it's just a struggle to want to do that to the masses. But yet, no matter probably anything that you do, they'll have a viewpoint of you. And it seems like sometimes that no matter what you do or how you do it, um, like what RJ said, they'll try to flip it and maybe make you look not so well doing it, or being who you are. And so it's definitely a struggle.
Yes. I know I have some Gen X's on, so that's Derek and RJ, and I wanted to ask you guys, coming from the 70s and the 80s, how has racism changed? Has it gotten worse? I think we're all millennials. The rest of us are millennials on here, but you guys was born in the 70s and 80s. So what? How is it different? Has it gotten worse? Has it gotten a little better? RJ, go ahead.
Let me answer this one. It hasn't gotten better. It's just camouflaged in a different manner. I mean, it ain't gonna never go nowhere. They just switching up how they do it, And to tag on to that last question, at some point you stop trying to be accepted into America. You just start to learn how to exist in America, and existing meaning in a manner, moving around and acting in a manner that's safe for you. Meaning, it's different for everybody. Like my safe zone is I just don't like to be around people that don't look like me or don't act like me. I really don't like to be around them because it cuts down on the possibility of a problem arising. So again, it hasn't changed. It's just evolved, and we can all see that now. If you go back before Donald Trump was in office to when he was in office, the things that took place while he was president, that's the proof.
You right. You right about that. I have I was talking to one of my friends, and he was telling me Biden is going to change a lot, and I was just, it's going to change. He's going to change the country. Racism is going to go away. And I looked at him and was like, I don't. I mean, this is generations on generations of hate. It's not going to go away with somebody that's going to have a role for 4 years. It's just not going to go away. I totally disagree. He argued me down, and I was just like, no. I mean, this is not the first time we haven't had a racist president in office, and we still have to deal with racism. So it's not to me. It's gonna have to. We're gonna have to work at this for racism to go away. But I believe it's not. It's never going to go away. Somebody may disagree with me, but I just believe it will never go away. Derek, since going from 70s and the 80s and the 90s, what have you? Do you think? Do you agree with RJ?
Yes, I agree with 100%. It's just like you said, camouflage. It took a different tactic, a different um, plot or whatever. It's still the same right down the middle. Racist is racism. Point blank. They just have certain ways they're doing it now, especially out of the 60s and 70s when black people start moving up. And one thing about us black people, we always want to be accepted in the so-called white man's world. And we do whatever we can do to fit in to make us feel acceptable, to make us feel liked. And sometimes just be yourself. And RJ said, we just have to, first of all, learn how to accept ourselves, be able to go out here and survive on, something for us to be safe, survive in this country, start trying to be accepted by a group of people who don't want to, point blank. They don't want to. So why would I want to be with somebody, who don't want me? So we as black people just need to learn how to get together, coordinate, work on things, and build our own. So yes, I agree with RJ. It never changed. It just changes tactics and kind of like scenery, its costume, or whatever. But it's still the same.
So with that being said, I don't want to, I want to push something. Do we want to go back into segregation? Of we're separating ourselves from white people or the racist white people. Are we saying that let's go back into our own black schools? I mean, which is almost like that, honestly. And it's just a different form. We're almost back in segregation. They don't want us at their white
But
schools.
let me say this: then is it
Go ahead.
wrong? Is it wrong for the Hispanic people to have their own stuff? They do their own. The Asians, the Indians, and whatever. So why not black people? I mean, call it segregation. Just us having our own stuff, point blank, handling our own money, handling our own affairs, everything handled by us. They don't say nothing about the Chinese and the Mexicans. China got their own Chinatown. We're Africa town. You know what I'm saying? So uh, we just need to start doing stuff on our own. We ain't got to say segregate ourselves, but we doing our own thing. That's just what I think.
Okay. Anybody else got something to say about that? Go ahead, TJ.
So, I mean, you can think of it as extreme as would you eat the same table with a pig? Um, I feel as though when you deal with a racist person, you're dealing with an actual pig-minded person. So, would I want to be associated with that type of person? No. Furthermore, we're already in that state of being now. We just don't see it that way. On Sunday mornings, that's the most segregated time of the entire week. Um, when we go to certain schools, you can see that affirmative action really isn't working in these certain colleges and these certain places of work. And so, therefore, we're already there. We just don't have the signs anymore. We just don't have the white onlys, the black onlys. Even though I feel as though that's what many people would probably prefer. And truth be told, probably many of us would actually feel that way too. We wouldn't honestly mind not being around racist white people. Now, I'm trying to be really, look, y'all already got my blood boiling on this topic. But, but again, in my opinion, when you talk about a racist person, I don't want to be around you no way because all you're gonna do is make me mad. So, to avoid any sort of confrontation, then we need to be separated until we can figure out what's your underlying issue with me, and I can identify what's my underlying issue with you, and we can come to some sort of compromise. But until then, no, let the Lord watch between me and me. So
It's so
that's the
funny.
point.
It's so funny because when they don't want to sit down and talk about it, so
We're
we can.
not, yeah, right, right. We're not politically correct in this society. We have taken everything that candid conversation is no longer a part of American society because what we do is we silence it. We call it cancel culture. We say, oh well, all lives matter, and put up all these sort of defense mechanisms when all we need is a candid conversation. Why do you have a problem with black people? It's as simple as that.
I don't know why they have a problem with black people. They just have one, for real.
Yeah,
I think a
yeah,
lot of it is out of fear of not knowing or not wanting to know who we are. They just
right,
go, oh, daddy told or granddaddy said this, and then here they go.
right.
It has a lot to do, I think, with exposure as well. I've lived in small towns and I've lived in large cities, and I can tell you, when you live in small towns and people are kind of staying within their pocket, what they are have grown up to believe, they truly believe is true. And I think that I think exposure means a lot of things that sometimes you can't always, for some people, talk through that. If you tell them for 20, 25 years, that something that they've been believing is wrong, they'll look at you crazy. I mean, realistically, I mean, they would look at you up and down and be like, "You're gonna tell me that what I've been raised to believe is wrong?" And you have to try to break this mindset based on their level of exposure and what they've seen, dealt with, heard, whether it's parents, their community, wherever it is. I mean, it's a very tough task, and I think sometimes that we have to look at that and not necessarily juggle between how realistic it is to break that but also try to just get to the source of it. Most people I know that are, that have been raised around, black people and Hispanics and things like that. Those people are much more obviously accepting and understanding because their level of exposure growing up was not limited. And
Absolutely.
but unfortunately, when we deal, I think a lot of times when we deal with, people of other races, particularly white individuals, and you really talk to them and learn kind of where they come from, you can borderline pinpoint where it is that things kind of slipped up, not necessarily at one point, but you can say, okay, so you grew up in an all white elementary school, you went to an all white middle school, you went to an all white, you understand what I'm saying? So you start to get that sense when you speak to them, and it just kind of just speaks, I think, to just, their level of exposure and or lack thereof, lack thereof.
Believe it or not, you have some black people same way that live up in those basically all white communities, all white towns, and get around amongst other black people and feel the same way as they're not black. They treat you
Mhm.
the same way. So
Mhm.
it has a lot to do with like what you said, exposure, but it just I think it goes a little bit deeper than that. It just something has something to do with the heart, and to be able to accept people, and especially for these so-called white Christians out here that you want to talk about the love of Christ, then you got to open your heart and accept all man.
Right,
That's just my opinion,
right,
but you got to accept all man. Don't just I'm accept all man, but I ain't accept no man if he dark skinned or hair kinky, whatever. But you got to accept all man. You know,
right.
my understanding, Christ hung around sinners during his ministry. He didn't hang out with the saints, so the
Right.
so-called saints. He hung out with sinners.
No such.
So I'm just saying, that those people have to get out and know, just get out, have an open heart, open mind when you go out here and meet people, and that's what I try to do every day. I just try to have an open mind when I meet people. I can talk to anybody. So, I mean, I trust you, but I can talk to anybody. That's my profession. I got to talk to anybody.
Right.
Whatever social economic group you're in, whatever status, whatever you want to call it, you're in, I got to talk to you. But I can open my mind up to be able to talk to anybody. I can adapt.
Right.
Yeah. I definitely agree with exposure and just a lot of times you're afraid of what you haven't been around. It's a matter of proximity. I can go to the projects right now, which I do, and I don't feel scared because I grew up there. But there are some people who have never seen that and they may be afraid of what they have heard. Racism is embedded in so many parts of our culture, and whether people have been told to hate a minority group or in a sense just subliminally like told to not like a particular group, because you have to remember, even in cinematic culture, there's things from TV shows or movies and different things that portray the black community in a way that will have people thinking, well, the minute I go to this street or this side of town, this is what I should expect. So they're from I mean, little kids on up, they're seeing it in cinematic things, they're seeing it on the news, they're not hearing about it in their communities, because a community that doesn't necessarily directly deal with racism, they're probably not just talking about it a lot either. So, so generations come up, and it carries this implicit bias that they pick up, along the way. And it's just because they haven't been in proximity to these communities. So your original question about segregation and what that would do, I think that to some degree it may have benefits, but then I don't agree on one end that it will, because in order for us to thrive, we need wealth, and the black community is not connected to wealth, and we typically don't collectively share wealth. We are not, the way we have been handled in this society has just kind of pushed that out. Remember now, when they were dealing with
Okay.
slaves, these people were being ripped from their families. Families are all over the place. And so we just haven't, as a group, been taught this way to work as a unified body, even in our religious organizations. one thing off and we want to create an entirely different organization. We just have one thing we don't agree on, and now we got a whole nother organization, and many of the black churches follow that as well. So it's a layered situation, and I don't think that, we necessarily have to um extract ourselves from the overall, but I think we need to learn how to have better communication with people who are not from our culture. And those people also have the responsibility of being willing to listen and not necessarily
Right.
offer their thoughts and ideas on something they haven't actually experienced. They have to, and there are people who are considered, for activists, they are considered white allies who say, hey, we don't know the black experience, but we're empathetic enough to sit and listen to what you all share with us. And when you have that kind of engagement going on, you'll find a lot more people saying, you know what, I'm sorry for what my grandfather's generation did, or, how can we help with the work that you're doing now? It's a really layered situation. I don't think it's just one answer to everything. But I don't necessarily agree that, segregation should be a part of the answer. Right now, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think there are ways that we can kind of unify. And just like we tell people with marriages or relationships, it takes communication, right, for anything to survive. And I think if you can get some people to want to listen and actually hear about the black experience without, putting their thoughts into it, that would be helpful. Granted, you're going to always have some people who are like, I don't care, I don't like black people, I don't like Latinos, I don't like
Right.
any minority groups because I feel like I'm superior, and unless you're agreeing that I'm superior, I don't like you. We're gonna have those types of people. That there are gonna be certain groups. We will always deal with racism to some degree, but I think that we can tackle it better if we communicate, have better conversations, and actually teach people in our communities how to unify, how to generate wealth, and how to create generational wealth. Because typically we don't see that in our community. So to tell us to segregate from something that, I'm not sure how that would work for our community. I just don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, I think he really hit on a really good point. I think, it's my personal thought that I think that if we strive to do that, we would honestly suffer more initially than I think than to thrive. I think because we aren't connected sometimes as we wish that we were. We see people with money and we see people in really good situations, but to say, all right, y'all, let's do it on our own, I think that initially it wouldn't look as well or feel as well. Therefore, I think it would discourage people from continuing doing things like this. Like, well, I thought this was supposed to feel good. I thought this was supposed to be good for us, and yet we're really not doing as well, or things don't look as good or aren't as good for us. So we go back to what it is we used to.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. We're gonna move on to the second question. And what can we do, since we're going to switch gears a little bit, but what can we do to make our voices heard and bring change to our communities? And I want to, this answer is really driven to the activists, T. But what can we do to make our voices heard and bring change to our communities, T?
I think that people have to just know their lane in the work. It's layered work, and just like you have all of us who are different on here, there's a police officer, there's a man here who works with children, there's someone in here, who works with cameras and different things, the news, and then we have TJ. I'm saying you have people who have their voice out in the world in these different spaces, doing their part. And I think it takes all of that.
Right.
It's a layered situation. So we have to have people in all of these spaces. So everybody's not going to protest. Okay, we get it. Everybody is not going to protest. Honestly, protesting has some danger connected to it because everybody who comes out there is not coming to protest. Some people are coming to be antagonists. Some people are coming to disrupt and to cause chaos in the middle of the cause. And so you have to be careful. You get arrested. These are people are getting their names, like these are records that are going to be on their names for being arrested for these things. Now, granted, they have to make a decision that they don't care. that they're doing arrestable actions, but you have to know your lane. And so if protesting out is not your lane, then you can do it in other ways. I tell people all the time, I am the founder and executive director of the Surge Project. We work with children ages 10 to 18. That is a part of how I protest. When you are dealing with systemic issues, you must also create a system in order to help attack what's attacking you.
Right,
So I
right.
can't go out here and simply protest and say, hey, we need you guys to take note of systemic oppression and the ways it affects us, racism, white supremacy, and the ways it affects us. I can't just do that and not go to my own community and say, hey, but this is how we're helping it work. These are the ways we help it work. When we don't put into our schools, when we don't invest in our youth, when we don't invest in our churches, when we don't invest in Black businesses. And I see things all the time on social media about, you know what, I tried this Black business out and you guys don't have great customer service. Well, I'm hoping you talk with the person there so that they could take note of this, and maybe go back and learn how to better communicate with their customers. But coming out on social media, telling people not to support these places, that is counterproductive. If we're going to be for the people, then we got to be for the people. And so for me, I think we have to just know our work lane and do that. So wherever you do your job, like I mentioned, all the people on here, you do that and you put your voice in that space, but not ignorantly. So you should be reading books. You should be reading articles. Don't address the situation out of misinformation, because that happens a lot of times. Sometimes we have so much, y'all. Oh my gosh, we have so much fake outrage. It really bothers me. It really bothers me. You're so
Right.
outraged, but you have not supported a community organization that helps in our minority communities. No, you may not be able to go. Maybe you work every day, but have you donated $5 to the group of people who can do this, who do have the time? Work your lane. And I think if we do that, we can see some things change in our community. But it takes, I've been using this hashtag a lot lately. It takes all of us, and that is not a light statement. It really, really does. So that's my 2 cents on it.
I love it. I love it.
Well, I think it too, like the pastor said, if you build that teamwork, and one thing that to get your voice heard, you need strength and power. One thing I gotta tell people out here on these streets, the only way people can care about the community, you got to care about it. And the power and real estate, when you build that property and get that property value up, people will start doing this right here to you and start paying attention. Get over here, pick this paper up out of your yard. Cut this grass. Get these cars out of your yard. Tell your Black people, build this property value up. Get, blah, blah, blah. Tell all of them that. Then when you start doing that, they see, they keep it that neighborhood clean. Their value going up. Well, we might need to listen to them. Because one thing about a person, or you want to talk about white party or white man rule the world, main thing they're looking at that money. They want to get that money. That would make their world turn. That's one way you can get that power. We have to work together and work together the same way we worked back during the civil rights. King died and all of them died. They gave a few Black people some things. Oh, okay, we great now. We made it. In actuality, we did. So we got to have that teamwork, work together, but we also got to build that power. And build that power is we got to take care of our own resources. And whatever property we got, it can be for the neighborhoods of Roebuck, Hensley, West End, start cleaning up and take pride in where you at and cleaning up behind and stop, dumping toilet seats and all this stuff out here. And just, and that's one way these people, these real estate developers come in, they move Black people in, they know, they can tear it up. They can mix it up and get that property value to drop, and then they come out and scoop it right up. I told several people that working in my profession, y'all need to clean up around here, man. These folks are gonna raise your rent. They're trying to get y'all out of here. And you look over there in Lakeview, a couple years later, see how it is now. Property value is high as I don't know what. So, but if they would have started doing what I suggested them for them to do, maybe they wouldn't have all that stuff over there that's over there now. So,
the same thing that Derek talking about, to go along with what he's saying, is you got to reach the kids too. The kids in the community can be the ones to keep pushing what their parents bringing to the table, and explain to them, okay, we're not gonna do this in our neighborhood because this happened. This makes our property not worth as much as this. So when you got a group of kids out, might be out playing basketball or whatnot, rather than tear down where they live at, hey man, don't do that. This is our neighborhood. Don't do that. So
Yeah.
you got to
RJ,
reach the kids, man.
RJ and I grew up in Tuscaloosa. He stayed in one neighborhood. Our neighborhood's right there by each other, but we took care of each other. You know what I'm saying? So we made sure nobody was coming and tear up our neighborhood. We was like, I think we was allies, so to speak. We might play against each other some football or basketball, but hey, we was allies. We made sure nobody come to each one of our neighborhoods and mess it up. So I agree with RJ too on that.
I think there's a lacking of working together, like T said, us coming together as a Black race, as a group of people, and just having that village again. I remember growing up back in the 90s and growing up in my neighborhood, and everybody looked out for everybody. Miss So-and-so down the street looked out for the kids down the street if we was going down the street. But I think there's a lack of a village now. Everybody wants to just keep to themselves. It's me. Don't talk to me. Whatever. So it's just, I think if we can just get back, because I love to see movies back in the day, especially on black communities, and you just see them working together. You could just see the camaraderie. You could just see the neighborhoods that they lived in, and it was nice. They kept it clean. I think we just lost a sense of that. So yeah.
I think a little bit is a lack of consistency as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes when something major happens, then we're all up in arms about it. But we have means to do things every day of trying to push towards whatever cause in our neighborhoods, whatever that happens to be that's specific to yours, and doing those things that are going to better our neighborhood, depending on what those things are. And so I think that we become a lot more up at arms when things happen, and we ride a certain wave that's temporal based on the energy that comes out of it for a certain amount of time, and then a lot of times people go back into the shadows. And I think that if we're just more consistent, and it may not be necessarily protesting, but it's talking to your community leaders, it's talking to your people that are in positions, whether they're aldermen or alderwomen or your state rep, whoever that happens to be. I think that if we're more consistent, then we'll see more change. And I just think that we lack that. Like generally, not everybody, but I think that sometimes we just lack that, and therefore we don't get to make the change that we truly want to see, because every time something happens, which could potentially be three times a year, then we want to come out and we want to be all up in arms. And I just wish that we would develop a level of consistency, because that's, I think, what people will see. Oh, there go them so and so again, and you believe it or not, they'll start to know you by name or by organization or by whoever, and they'll know, oh, here they come, and this is what their message is. It'll be a lot more clear, more concise, and people, I think, will be easier to get behind it because they know that you're about it, not just once or twice a year or a couple of times a year, but every week, every 2 weeks, every 3, just on a more consistent basis.
Yeah, I love it. TJ, you got something to say before we move on to the next question?
Of course, I have something to say. So 3 things really to your question. One, I agree with what everybody is saying. We have to, as Black people, we have to stop using racism as a fad, as a hashtag. We have to be very consistent about what we're trying to achieve. And with that, we have to destroy this mentality of where all of us are independent. We don't need one another. Yes, you do. You need one another. You need that person who is a baby boomer. You need that person who's Generation Z, who's doing the weird dances on TikTok. You need people to make your movement successful. The second thing is we have to put our money where our mouth is. Most of probably all of Black America, we own no form of media whatsoever. So when everything goes down from any sort of protest and then it's called a riot, well, Black people don't own any sort of media. How can we ever change the narrative of what we're actually doing to the masses if we don't own our news stations, if we don't own our radio stations, if we don't own some sort of social media? How can we ever change the narrative? Because again, that's what's being used against us. Before they ever go to the criminal justice, before they ever go to the schools, they're using the media to create this narrative against Black people. And then the last thing is this: we have to break this cycle of corrupt democracy. What do I mean by that? Every child that goes to school, they're being taught how to be democratic. Not democratic as a party, but democratic as an American. And so after they get out of school, they have this mentality of what we call capitalism. Everybody has to pull themselves up from their own bootstraps. That's not the case with Black America. Black America, we ain't got no bootstraps. We ain't got no boots. So until we have both of those things, how can we ever say we're going to pull ourselves up from that? No, we need to work together in order to get a boot, a strap, a pant leg, and furthermore. And so it all comes down to community. And I have a real problem. Again, no offense to anybody that's listening. I have a real problem when it comes to a lot of the religious organizations, because that's our primary source of information as Black people. We yearn from the religious community. When we don't hear the voices of our leaders, that's a problem. When Al Sharpton can only come out when somebody dies, that's a problem. When Ben Crump can only get money when somebody dies, that's a problem. So again, it's very systematic with what we do. So until we deal with things that it breaks these cycles within ourselves, then we can make change on the outside.
I love it. I love it. I love it. You're totally right. I love it. We're gonna our last question, and it's and I'm excited to hear what everybody has to say about this. And we have already talked about it, some of it. So will racism? Well, let me slow down. Will racism ever go away? Will it ever be one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all? Will we ever see all men are created equal? And I want to talk about this because that was the biggest lie that I was taught in school. With liberty and justice for all. Biggest lie. Biggest lie. So will it ever be this? Will we ever see this? Andrew, go ahead.
Unfortunately, I don't think it ever will. I think, like anything, it's always good to have a goal, and you're always trying to work towards that goal. But unfortunately, history has shown that the present has shown us that, unfortunately, you know, we are not we are not the same, and it sucks because, of course, you want to be, like I said earlier, you want to be accepted, you want to be, you want to come into a room and be viewed the same way as Bobby and Billy or Susie, whoever is in there. But unfortunately, there is something that hangs over our head, especially as African Americans, that unfortunately, I mean, it does not go away. And do I think that racism will ever go away? I would hope to think, and I would wish, yes, it would. But unfortunately, history in our present is just not showing us any flashes of a complete, you know, a complete move going towards that. I mean, like I said, we've seen, Derek Chauvin be be locked away or whatever. We've seen that. But that's, when we celebrate that, but it's an anomaly. It is. And I wish that we could see more things like that more frequently. But we just haven't.
Yeah. Since I got on you real quick, Andrew, because I know you were there when the terrorists attacked. Because they're not. I call them terrorists. You may call them white people or whatever, Americans. These folks were terrorists, and they came and attacked the Capitol. And I know you were there. Can you talk about what, like, because I saw your video and they was like literally like bullying you and pushing you guys away. So can you talk about that? Go ahead.
I mean, it was intense. I mean, you had a lot of people who truly believed the cause that they were there for. I tell people all the time, like, what you saw on TV to some degree is filtered, mainly because of FCC rules. Everything has rules to some degree, even television and radio. You can't say or you can't see whatever. So I tell people what you saw on the ground on television was a filtered version. It was worse actually being there. The things that you heard, the things that you saw was a lot worse. And the mentality of people were honestly to cause a level of division and strife. I can't tell you how many people will come up to us knowing we're the media and try to pick fights just to, and not physically necessarily, but they look to pick verbal altercations about the election, about who we believed was right. And as the media, we strive to be as indifferent and as just set in the middle as possible. We're not on one side or the other. And so you would be surprised seeing all the people that's like, what did you think about this? And they try to start off as if they're trying to be peaceful. And I mean, but they're just trying to bait you. And unfortunately, it was a large group of people that just came there, I think, to be combative and to cause strife. And unfortunately, I mean, it was bad. It was a lot worse than what you saw on TV. It was frustrating, especially I think like myself. I'm more solution driven and not even necessarily in that particular situation like how can I fix this, but you think like how did we get to this and how do we get away from this, and that's the first thing I think that one of the things that came to my mind. And your emotions are swirling everywhere, then people are coming at you talking to you any type of way. And I mean, it's rough. It was really a really rough time. I mean, it's to the point to where now, and I've been here in Washington for a little over a year now, and I can tell you I've covered predominantly every protest that has seen the District of Columbia in the past 14 months. And it's to the point now where I have anxiety going to protest now because you don't know what's going to happen. It's like when people say, well, my assignment manager is an assignment desk, like, hey, can you go run over and cover this protest? Or, hey, can you go? It gives me anxiety because it's to the point to where you just don't know what's going to happen. Peaceful protesting to some degree seems to be a thing of the past. People can't just go out there, say what they need to say, show their signs, walk, talk peacefully, and then go home. They unfortunately have to trash stuff. They gotta threaten the media as if we some punks or something. They have to somewhat be bullies in the midst of trying to be anti-bully. You know what I mean? So it's really interesting just how that kind of is, but it's rough. That day, January 6th, was rough, and I think everything that spiraled after that because of that, I think is rough. So it's tough. It's tough as a member of the media, no doubt. But as a man and as a citizen in the United States, it's tough.
Yeah. So yeah. RJ. So will racism ever go away? Are we gonna see that one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all?
We can't be what we never were.
Oh, okay. All right. The bishop has spoken.
Simple. That was really simple.
Right.
Man, that was, yeah. Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just go back 400. You just go back 400 years and
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all she wrote, bro.
Right. T, what you say?
Will I ever turn into a white lady?
Right.
Michael Jackson tried, but he still died a black man.
Right.
So yeah, no, we I don't think we'll ever get rid of racism. I think we can do our part in tackling systemic oppression, which feeds from racism. And so I think we can do that. But as far as getting rid of it, I don't think so.
Yes, ma'am. Derek, what you say?
Got on
when this stuff right here was written, we was either slaves or on a Jim Crow law or whatever when they came out with this stuff. Doing a little research prior to this, racism started back, in my opinion, in the Bible with the birth of Jacob and Esau. Christ, I mean, when the Most High told Rebecca that there's two nations inside the womb. And during the birthright and the selling and the blessing that for Jacob and Esau, and then you even go in Deuteronomy with the curse that he put on the people, the children of Israel. So racism ain't going nowhere. You know, the Most High, Christ got to come back in all of this stuff, and then hopefully start back over again. Hopefully start back in with no racism at all. It ain't going nowhere. It's been here since biblical days. It ain't going nowhere.
Yep.
It's just going to evolve.
Yeah.
TJ?
Well, I would say, okay, now I'm gonna try to give a little bit of hope.
Okay, hope.
I would say, first of all, racism is a feeling. Okay, it's a feeling that is bred through a form of hatred. So subliminally, yes, racism will always be there because there's even forms of racism against some form of Asians in another part of Asia or Africans in another part of Africa. So there will always be a sense of I'm better for some reason. So that will never, unfortunately, go away. But I think when it comes to racism as we understand it in America, the repercussions of it, I feel as though that can change with more legalities, with more laws put in place to combat racism and racist behavior. We have not yet seen that. Asians saw it within a week. The issue is, and we've been talking about that actually on my podcast, the difference between Asia and Black Americans is that we have no home. We can't look to Africa to say, hey, these white Americans are bothering us and we need help. Asia could do that. So until we are actually in a place where we can combat the legalities of what we see, lynching laws, they've been in the faces of Democrats and Republicans for years, and it has not yet changed. So, but I believe that when we get those sort of things mandated and changed, we can start seeing some systematic changes that I believe that Black people will want to see. And what that looks like is equality and equity. And so, and to put a caveat here, will it ever be one nation under God and justice for all? All men are equal, created equal. Like the brother said earlier, that was never in place in the beginning. I believe that America has to redefine herself as what we call a society, because we're not always going to be equal. That's the reality. So not to be so philosophical, but again, will racism, the feeling of it, ever go away? No, but I feel as though, like I said, the consequences of racism, yes, we saw that with Asia, with Asians here in America. It can change, right? So let's put what's important in front of our legislators and our community leaders.
I agree. I mean, when I saw that, and when he wrote something for the Asians, and I was like, oh dang, okay, so it can happen. So when he's gonna do this for the Black Americans, and I was like, all right, I'm waiting to see that. But I saw that happen with the Asians, so I was like, so it can be done. It can be done.
Don't lose hope.
Don't lose hope. But all right, y'all. Thank y'all for being a part. That was our last question. Thank you all. Anybody else have something to say? All right, okay. So yeah, thank you all for being a part. Thank you for being on Millennials Talk. Thank you for liking, sharing, commenting on this video. This was a great topic with great people to talk about racism, social injustice. So I want to encourage everybody, like the activist Pastor T said, stay in your lane, know your lane, and work that lane that you're in. You don't always have to go out and protest, but whatever you're doing, make a difference in your community. Make a difference. Talk to the young generation, because me and RJ, we have, and it's gonna take. We always say the younger generation don't play. They're not like our grandfathers and our grandmothers who, walk. They'll go out and start a whole revolution. Well, honestly, if they put their minds to it, we can do that. But I want to talk to young people because that's our future. The young people, the children are our future. So if we teach them, like Pastor T says, teach them and counteract that systemic racism, I think we'll do a better job in our communities. So yes, get active, stay in your lane, whatever that lane is, work it, do it. I love it. Be encouraged. We here. We in America, so let's change it. Try to change, try to do our part. So I love it. Thank you all again for being a part. We'll see you guys not next Sunday, but the Sunday after. I'm trying to give breaks. So Sunday at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. See y'all again. Love y'all. Y'all have a good night.
Y'all be safe.